Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Jeannie Deraney, and I'm very excited to have Drew Deraney. He is a family and health caregiver coach, but today, as dad, he's going to talk to many of you about like what dads need and how dads are often missing in the equation. There is still, if you will, a fantasy that runs around in this world that men don't do anything, and that's not true. Fathers are very much game changers. They help their children in all kinds of amazing ways. And I'm really excited to have Drew share his experience and tell you about the power of a father because we all could use a good one. Drew, would you
Absolutely.
like to begin and share a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Jeannie. Yeah, I guess in context, a little about me. I've worked in healthcare for 24 years at hospital, and I'd say when people ask me about my story, because how I got to where I am now, when we're young, we're taught that life is linear, right? We're told that if you
Yeah,
do A plus B plus C, D is going to happen. And it's not
yeah.
malicious teaching. People want us to have a straight path in life. And for the most part, my life was linear until it was not. I did everything right.
Ah,
And then in 2015, I learned my wife was going to leave me. So in
I'm so sorry.
2018, I say, here's where the four faith shaking moments in a 9 month period kind of shifted my life. And for the better, believe it or not. But here's what happened. Divorce,
Hmm.
April of 18. Then I got fired from my last hospital job in October of 18.
Wow.
One of my sons had suicidal ideations, and then my dad unexpectedly got sick and passed away. So,
Oh.
the reason I tell you all this is because I've had adversity in my life, but I was what I call man number one. I had a lot of blind spots. I didn't even see the adversity. I was living life the way people told me to live, right?
Right.
You just be the man, suck it up, man up, no emotions, just do the thing, right? And so I did because that was the role I was taught.
Hmm.
And then when all of this stuff hit the fan back in 2018, I turned into man number two. I was the man who now saw this adversity, yet I was the victim, right?
Mm.
It wasn't my fault. It was everybody else's fault. Life was doing it to me. I couldn't change anything. And
Right.
so I didn't. And then there was a big hit about a month after my dad died where I looked
Mm.
inward and I said to myself, there's got to be something more. I'm on this earth for something more. And I did a lot of personal development, a lot of soul searching. And I ended up writing a book, but I wrote it in the way of Drew right now, educating the Drew of years past. I wanted to understand um, all the decisions I made in life. What were the patterns? How did I decide to learn, to make these decisions? And I realized I was a people pleaser.
Hmm.
For a good part of my life, I was making decisions based on what I thought other people would want of me as a man,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there are certain characteristics and criteria that we're told by society men are supposed to be, right? So I
Right.
listened. In learning all this, I've now been told that I'm redefining what it means to man up. And what that
Mm.
is we need to still be strong. We can be empathic. Heard some of your speakers talk about empathy and compassion, and it's so true. But many oftentimes men are taught it's either or. You're
Ah.
either strong or you're either empathic. And of course, they have words, not nice words for a man who's overly empathic. And ones that are overly strong, you get this toxic masculinity, or you're a wimp the other way. So there is a balance
Hmm.
in life. And so as a dad, I mean, I always wanted to be a father. Now, I always, again, this linear path, I expected all three of my kids to be born neurotypical. I never even knew what the word neurotypical was. I didn't know what the
Right.
word neurodivergent was. We're not kind of prepped for that when you're pregnant with your first kid coming, right? We're learned
Yeah.
about the yellow brick road with the wizard, and everything's going to be fine, and this is what you do. Too often, stuff either happens before birth and is not picked up, or at birth and is not picked up, or down the road, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you know what's next, and then there's that you don't know where to turn. But as a father, I always wanted to be involved. And I always learned that just like in work, you need different management styles. As a parent, you
Hmm.
need different parenting styles. Even if the kids are all neurotypical, doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Different parenting
Right.
styles, different children. The neurodiverse piece for me, my son, who's 23 now, was born it was a normal birth. Wasn't much different from the following two kids, but he was our oldest, our firstborn. What we noticed though in the beginning was that he didn't crawl. He scooched on his butt.
Hmm.
Okay. So that was one thing we saw, but we didn't think anything of it because some kids don't crawl, they go right to from sitting to standing.
Right.
He would also sometimes run from corner to corner in the room. And that
Hmm.
was interesting. Later on we found out why, and I'll get to that. But
Hmm.
I didn't pick up on that, neither did my wife and at the time, and she was a nurse too. So
Hmm.
certain things she'll pick up on later on, quicker than I did. But
Right.
I just thought, it's just him having a lot of energy and he's running it off. And then preschool started and he started to get in trouble.
Oh,
And he was completely misunderstood. And as a father, of course, I'm protecting him. I wasn't thinking anything about neurodiversity, and here's it's going to be something important that my wife wanted him tested earlier than I did, and I
sure.
I pushed back, not because, probably part out of fear, part out of denial, part out of he's just a boy being a boy, you know?
Yeah.
He would knock people over because he was told to go sharpen a pencil, and the pencil sharpener was straight across. So the quickest way to somewhere is a straight path, straight line.
Oh,
If there are
uh-oh.
individuals in your way, though, he would knock them over and ask, "Why did you do that?" And I don't know was the answer. And you get in trouble. He really
Right.
didn't know why he did that.
Yeah.
I still kind of fought going for a diagnosis again, probably out of fear, and we ended up did getting him tested probably around age 13ish, which
Oh,
is
wow. That's pretty
it,
far down the road from
it's
preschool.
it's late, yes. And he was diagnosed on the, as your previous speaker talked about, Asperger's. It was Asperger's level 1, which is now
Mm.
the autism spectrum disorder. I would say he's on the moderate scale,
Hmm.
highly cognitive. I mean, like, brilliant. On paper, 23, cognitively 26. It's
Yeah.
his social skills and the
Right.
emotion regulation that are delayed. And I would say he's now catching up to his cognitive with those, but he's probably 16, maybe 15, 16 years old, skill set. And it's for social skills and for emotion regulation. And that
That's
is
not
very,
bad though.
it's not bad. It's very challenging for him, though, because logically he knows what's going on and can't control it,
Yeah.
and that's where the issues come into play. So I'll just stop there as far as how I got to where I was, because what ended up happening is last year, for a 6 month period, he had a really challenging time, and I had been coaching men at the time, because my epiphany when I was writing the book was the more I told my story, the more I healed myself from within. And that's when
Yeah.
I learned about how men need to show their emotion and ask for help and release toxins from our bodies rather than suck it up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But when he was going
Yeah.
through a real challenging time, I stopped everything I was doing to care for him,
Hmm.
and I burned out.
Yeah.
And I have two psychology degrees, an MBA in healthcare administration. I know this stuff. I'm a certified coach. I missed the signs of caregiver burnout because I was in the weeds. And when I finally got out of the weeds, and early this year, I transitioned my business to taking care of caregivers, teaching them how to compassionately self care as compassionately as they do for their loved ones, for all the reasons Pete, your speakers mentioned before. A lot of the focus is on the individual that's neurodivergent, not much focus on caring for the caregiver. So I have now taken that role to care for the caregiver and empower the caregiver to take care of themselves first, which is kind of like, really? Well, yeah, it's kind of like on the airplane. Put the oxygen
Yeah.
mask on,
Yeah.
because if you die, how are you going to help the one who's sitting next to you? So,
Yeah, and I just want to share that you said something which was, I think, a big clue, and
mm-hmm,
that is a lot of times when we're in the thick of it, as you said, in the weeds,
mm-hmm,
we know there's a problem, but we cannot necessarily have the time or the energy to pull our heads out. And that's why we need people out there to support us. Hopefully,
mm-hmm.
other family members, a good friend, your own therapist, or your own coach, or somebody going, you don't look good right now. No, not trying to be mean.
Absolutely.
You don't look good. Are you okay?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then like sometimes people have to be like, I don't know how I, because they haven't even looked in the mirror lately. They don't know.
Very true. Very true.
And burnout happens because we're giving more than we are receiving. and
Yep.
and you're
Yep.
like, Jeannie, I know. And you're like, I know, but you just said I had to take off time from work to take care of, a situation that wasn't just like magically getting solved. And
Hmm.
you had to do the thing that you probably didn't think you could do, but you did it because you knew it had to be done, which is take time to take care of the ones who need it.
Hmm.
And even though we talked about money earlier today, how much can you afford to do
Right.
blank A or B or C, or all that stuff. I know because I have seen this done more than once in families
Hmm.
that you don't get that luxury.
Yeah.
You have to go. And here's the good news is you can always make that money up on the back end. You really can. There are miraculous and fun ways to make more money without having to be like, there went my 401k, boom. Because if we don't take the time to take care of what we have, this is exactly what's going to happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned about having a support team, and it's important because, and I do want to tie in the correlation between people pleaser and caregiver. There's a
Yes.
correlation there because many caregivers just give, 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 yes, 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 and then we try to give from an empty cup because we didn't fill that cup back up by accepting receiving help.
Yes.
And I have something here, what I call my notes here about something called the respite stack.
Ooh.
Because to keep going, we need support. And I
Mm-hmm.
say we should build a respite stack. And what that is it's people, programs, payments, and technology. The people piece is have two relatives, one neighbor, and one paid helper as your people who surround you. So two relatives you can trust,
Mm-hmm.
one neighbor for close proximity, and a
Yeah.
paid helper to come help you out with some stuff. And then programs. Look for programs. There's adult day centers. There's autism support groups. Payments, Medicaid waivers. I know you don't want to rely on the government, but there are some good government benefits out there
Sure.
that can
Sure.
even help pay a caregiver. I'm actually getting developmental disability, working on that for my son, so I can get paid as a caregiver because I'm
Sure.
doing so many things and not being able to work as much on my business as I'd like. So,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to pay the bills somehow. And then
Yeah.
technology, shared calendars, so everybody knows what's going on, reminders, and even grocery deliveries. So
Yes.
there are certain things you do need to take care of yourself, and that's one way of doing it is what I call the respite stack, because that's one of the four big things caregivers need is a little bit of time away.
Yes. And I'm so glad that you just shared. You're like, you need payments, you need this, you need this, you need that. Because I'm telling you, I have seen it happen to parents who are dealing with a neurodiverse child or a child with a long-term health issue. And they're like, you should just, put them in respite without any understanding about what does that look like
Mhm.
from a system standpoint,
Right.
assuming your insurance will cover it,
Hmm.
assuming there's a bed, because
Hmm.
that's the medical terminology,
Right.
and assuming that your child is going to go and not run away,
Hmm.
then I guess it's okay. And it's sort of like, no, we want to probably rethink this whole caregiver thing. And I'm not the expert on this, but I feel like if we had more community, if we were able to, keep people more in place, which seems to
Hmm.
be better for them, and
Right.
then provide more supports for the caregivers as well as for the children, then we seem to do a little bit better. It's not
Hmm.
perfect. Sometimes,
Right.
where they live isn't a great place. But again, that's a larger system issue that I can't solve either off the top of my
Right.
head. I don't have all the answers, but I do know that when people are visible, when they do everything they can to ask for help and support, it works. Because years ago, I worked with this family. This was a long time ago. And what this woman kept asking for, she said, I need people to come in to provide me respite. And she had two children who were definitely on the spectrum and probably had some other health issues. And I don't remember the whole story. Her
Right.
kids were absolutely great, but they were like always in your face. I mean, but that was part of what was going on with them.
Right.
That's just
Right.
what they were. They were 12 and 13, and they
Yeah.
were cute as a button, but they were always in your face.
Yeah.
And so you had to have people who were able to handle that, number one. But number two, when I kept saying, well, when you want respite, are you saying that you want them to go to a facility or do you want people to come in? And I kept trying to tell her, like, the medical language at the time was respite was out of the home. And what
Mm.
she was asking for were people to come in the home. But I think, it's like one of those things I was like, listen, if you keep saying you need respite, then the system's going to go, we have a bed over here. But
Mm,
if you're asking for what you just said, support to come
right,
in,
right.
that's a totally different conversation.
Absolutely. And then the support doesn't have to be from the government, the hospital. I mean, it could be
Hmm.
like your next door neighbor. I mean,
Yeah.
people are gonna offer help, and they're offering, and then they're sincere about it. But sometimes you have to, in a good way, call them on it by actually, I call it the 5 sentence ask, where you say, first you thank them, and then you say, can you offer 90 minutes of your time tomorrow, maybe to do my groceries, and if you can't do that, how about just 20 minutes to hang out at the house while I go get a walk or something, and if I'll text you as a reminder. It turns the sympathy into support, and people
Hmm.
mean it. They do want to help. We're all afraid of caregivers is of asking for help. So when someone asks us for help, take them up on it, because that's the respite care you need. And even if it's a 10-minute nap, I'm telling you, there's so many little things. Breathing, someone talked about breathing earlier. We
Hmm.
know how to inhale, we don't know how to exhale correctly. And we got to,
Yeah.
the oxygen out of our lungs clears our brain and it makes us feel better and work
Yeah.
and think better. So,
So one of the best things I learned in business, this was years ago, but it's so true in life. And sometimes I have to coach my clients on this.
yeah.
Make a list of everyone you know. And,
Hmm.
and don't like try to get it all done in like a brain dump in 5 minutes. That's too
Hmm.
stressful, right?
Hmm.
But if you go through like, your social media, who do you really know? Who's already in your phone? And then make a list of like, how well do you know them? And is there
Hmm.
any that are what I would call gold stars? You love them. You love talking with them. They're always helpful. They're always supportive. And would you want to spend more time with them or somebody like them? Do you think they might be able to help you? Those are your targets. And those are the people you go to
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Because I have met people who were like, who do you know? And they're like, I don't know anybody. And that's not true. They
No.
usually know
No.
quite a few people. But
Right.
to know the people that can help and support you, we know who those people are. They just may not be here physically, right?
Right. And
Like I've met
they
many
don't
people, they're
know.
on the phone, but they're
Yeah,
not
and
here.
they don't know what's going on unless you tell them what's going on.
Right.
You know,
Hmm.
and, people can't read our minds, but
Yeah.
often we're like, nobody's checking on me. Well, if they don't know what's going on with you, you got to open your mouth and ask for help or let people know.
Yeah.
Because some people are going to be afraid to ask because they don't want to say the wrong thing.
Right.
You know.
Right. And also, I think it's also up to us as caregivers to make a determination of like who's really helpful
Mm.
and who isn't so helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
True.
because we always have some challenging people in our lives and we love them, but they don't always accept the help that we do offer them. And
Hmm.
isn't it good for you to have somebody that can help and support you when you're dealing with a challenging person? So as I've said before in the past, like my mother was the challenge for me. She was like, whoa, my dad was really easy, but my mom she was tough. And so trying to get information, trying to understand her, trying to figure stuff out was
Hmm.
like, okay, gotta like. And so it was really helpful for me. Like you just gave the example, Drew, is to sit down and go, can I tell you a little bit about my mom? Can I tell you about what's happening now? But wait, there's a little bit more information. There's more information over here. And then what would happen is people who really wanted to help me would listen and be like, I think it sounds like this. And I'd be like, wow, that was really helpful. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't even think of that. Versus people who have like no filter and they just don't have anything to give. They're tuned out as soon as you said problem.
Yeah. Well,
and,
you
and we
also
want to
want
know
to.
who those people are so we don't have to talk to them as much,
Well,
right?
that's the thing. That you're going to get a lot of blood relatives who love to give unsolicited advice. The
Mm-hmm.
last thing you really want or need is unsolicited advice. So you
Right.
may as well tell people, I'm not asking for advice.
Yeah.
I'm just venting to you. I need you to listen. Sometimes
Yeah.
you have to spell out to people why you're telling them something. But it's if you're able to write down who you can trust on the left side and who maybe are just a smile and wave on the right side. And
Exactly.
do it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is so important. That is so important. You know, I also feel like, when you think about that you're going to need a team and you're going to need more than just, one person to kind of handle everything.
Yeah.
We certainly have talked about different, things that people need and want, but I'm always amazed sometimes when I ask the question like, well, how can I help you? Sometimes people freeze and they don't have an answer. They don't even know.
Well, I think that's why when you are in a calm, relaxed state,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, is when you do the homework, you do the research, you have it all
Yeah.
written down, who can help, who can't, what you would need if someone asks you help, what you don't want people to help with, have it all ready. So when
Mm-hmm.
the question comes, you're prepared for an
Mm-hmm.
answer.
Yeah.
Too often when that happens, then emotions run high, and then you're trying to think, "Oh my God, oh yeah, nothing. I'm fine." That's what comes out when you don't plan. You have to prepare and plan
Yes.
for for to come, and you're gonna know what's to come because you'll know on a daily basis what you need. Write down
Right.
what you need when you feel it. You
Right.
know, if you're ready to go to the bathroom and you're holding it in because write down, I wish someone could just be here for 5 minutes so I can pee. I mean, no joke.
Yeah.
Stuff as simple as that.
Yeah.
But do
Mm-hmm.
that when you're not in a state of either unpreparedness or nervous or anxiety. Because the anxiety and overwhelm is going to be with you a lot. So take advantage of trying to be a little conscious of when you can take that deep breath and say, okay, what is it I need when it's on my worst day? You know?
And that is such a beautiful question because it gives you the opportunity to be like, oh, I need the following. I
Mm-hmm.
need
Mm-hmm.
this on my
Mm-hmm.
worst day. And
Absolutely.
and I really think people don't give themselves enough grace to
No,
receive that answer. But
I don't
sometimes, like
either.
you said, the answer is like, leave me alone so I can pee for 5 minutes.
Right, right.
Or I need a 10-minute nap, or I need a 20-minute walk, or
Yeah.
on my worst day, I just need somebody to hear me vent, and then I will move forward.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's very, very important. And I think a lot of times we wear masks. We try
Hmm.
to cover up who we are, what we need, because we're
Hmm.
afraid of what people might think
Hmm.
or whatever. But the whole idea, as a caregiver, if you can be as authentic as possible, be you. If you're
Yes.
you, the help is going to be there. It's when you put that
Yeah.
mask on and pretend you're Superwoman or Superman that you're not going to get the help you need because people think you got it all taken care of, and it's not their fault. You're accountable. We as a caregiver are accountable for our own well-being, so we may as well, when we need the help, ask for it.
Hmm.
You know,
Exactly.
yeah,
And I think you're right. When we hold on to a mask and trying to, because I've heard that more than once of like, well, I'm hanging on, and it's like, well, not to be so cliche, but it's when
mhm.
we're hanging on, there's usually something we have to let go of.
Absolutely. And
And
the
mhm,
mask is what you have to get let go of. I have I wrote down here things. I was thinking of the three types of masks that we wear, and I've worn them all. So for the audience out there, you guys listening,
mhm,
there are three types of masks that caregivers wear, and again, I've worn them all. And I
mhm,
want you to think as I say this, what mask do you wear as a caregiver? And each
mhm,
mask begins as protection for yourself. It ends
mhm,
as a prison if you hold on to it too much. You
mhm.
have the martyr. Have you ever been the martyr? I'll
Yes.
do it all. I don't matter. That's the thinking behind it when you're the martyr. And then you got the mediator. Keep the peace at any cost,
Yeah.
right? So keep your
Mhm.
mouth shut. Don't cause any problems. And then you have the machine, like men do. No feelings, just tasks. Go, right? Those are three masks that in the beginning they think they feel like they're protecting you. They end up put you in a prison because it's not going to help you care for yourself. So very
That
important.
is so important to share that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So when we put down the mask, are we going to be okay with who we are? So that's like sometimes the bigger question. And
yeah.
I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and that's again, that's what you do. I mean, I did 7 years of personal development to try to, because I kind of lost myself with all the stuff
Yeah.
I told you initially, and then with my taking care of my son, because I had those questions of what's going to happen with him when I'm not here and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you don't share that fear with other people, then you keep it inside, and it's going to tear you apart. So, in order to be okay with your authentic self, first you got to find out who you really are, and that's that what's my purpose in life. And I really really thought about this, and I actually believe for me my purpose is that I buck the status quo. I always try to find a better way to do something.
Yeah.
And when I do find that better way, I want to share it with people. And so once I found out who I really am, that's when the comfort of being my authentic self, I started not to care about
Hmm.
what other people thought of me.
Right.
I cared what other people thought, comma, I didn't care what they thought about me.
Ah.
And there's a difference, right? If you
Hmm.
care about what people think, you can be empathic. And then
Hmm.
the next step with compassion, like we talked about earlier. But if you really are worried of what people think about you, that's a dangerous road to travel, because especially if it's the people who don't serve you
Hmm.
the way you deserve to be served. So you got to be comfortable in your own skin. So if you're comfortable being alone and getting to know who you are,
Hmm.
then throwing off those masks is not an issue. You have to
Right.
be ready though. You can't just throw them off and see what happens if you are truly concerned about how people judge you, because people are going to judge you no matter what.
One of the best things I ever heard as a human being about, when you walk in the room of strangers, about maybe a third of them, roughly, will they'll like you, they'll be interested in you, would like to get to
Mhm.
talk to you, in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
There's going to be about 30% that's going to be like, don't know you. I don't really know. They just don't know. They don't
Right.
have enough information one way or the other. They're not like moved, like, I need to talk to you. They're just like,
Hmm.
And then that last 30% probably won't like you. I don't know if they're going to hate you, but they just don't really maybe feel inspired or want to connect with you. And
Right.
I feel like as a caregiver, we have to get out of the rooms where people just don't care and they don't like you, because we spend too much time trying to people please
Right.
and make those people happy and forget about ourselves. And then we're like, all these other people just love and adore you. And they're like, I don't know how to operate in this room too well. Like it's kind of weird at first, everyone really
Absolutely.
likes me.
It's counterintuitive to do that, because the people who only gravitate towards you when you wear a mask, they're not the ones who are going to offer you the help.
Oh,
And
that
then
was so well said.
you're surprised, right?
Hmm.
But if you throw down the mask, be who you are, and people gravitate towards you, those are going to be your people.
Yeah.
Those are going to be the people who want to help you, because they're gravitating towards your true self, who you really are.
Hmm.
Believe me, it's just saves you from a lot of headaches.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, it does. It absolutely does.
yeah.
So tell me, Drew, when do people hire you? Or should I say, when did the dudes call you and be like, I need support?
Well, it's interesting, because when I was just doing the men's coaching, I had a ton of women like, well, you don't coach women. I said, no, well, think about it this way. Right now, I'm coaching men, but if I help the man, I help the woman in her life.
There you go.
Right, but no, but now in my little transition, I mean, men are we're still half the population, so we're
Right.
caregivers. So if it's one-on-one coaching, I love to get to be introduced to special needs attorneys and special needs
Okay.
financial advisors. Why would I want to be introduced to them? Because their clientele are
Hmm.
special needs parents. And I've
Hmm.
talked to many attorneys and many financial advisors who wish they knew who they could refer their clients to when the clients sit down and start asking questions about emotion, cognition, mental health, right? And all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff, and personal health, physical health. They're asking the attorney about that, and the attorney can help them with the legal help. And if you need other types of help, who can they send them to?
Ah,
And
yeah.
so that's why the best referral partners, in order to for me to have my clients, are the ones who are going to be nearing burnout and they don't even know it. But rather than ask the audience to look for those types of people to refer me, why not go to the professionals who have those people as clients? And so, and for the group coaching, I love going to school systems and
Hmm.
helping who's a caregiver in a school system.
I would think it would be a
All
teacher,
right,
or, and
teachers,
and the
teachers,
principals are probably running
they're all
around.
everybody who works in the school system is a caregiver in some way, shape, or form. So I do group workshops there, home health agencies,
Hmm.
assisted living facilities. Do you know what the
Hmm.
burnout rate is of them? And you know what that does to the bottom line for these organizations when they keep losing these caregivers and right? And if we're going to send our family member to a skilled living facility or a home health agency or something like that, we're going to want to make sure the caregiver is in top notch form, right? So I can help in that aspect too.
You often see because that's sometimes a question I hear
Hmm.
from facilities is they would love to hire you because you can offer CEUs for their folks so they can actually give them time off.
Absolutely, they need continuing education credits anyway. Why not personal development continuing education credits? I mean, you're gonna need
Yeah.
them anyway,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that's definitely what I can provide because the more healthy your caregivers are, whether it's in the private sector or the public sector, the
Hmm.
healthier the patients, the students, and everybody else is going to be, because people are working at the best of their ability, and I think so that's why it's important.
Exactly. Yeah. Drew, this has been amazing that you everything you shared about taking off the mask, about, who you really are, about, hey, we need help and support
Hmm.
today. We need help and support now. We're not just like
Absolutely.
and down the road. One of the thoughts I had is that there's sometimes attorneys that I meet, they do family law
Hmm.
and they do adoption as well as divorce and all that other good stuff. Are those like people that you're like, oh yeah, that can be helpful, or you're like, that's
Well,
high
yeah, I
drama?
mean the divorce one, yeah. Since I'm divorced and I know what it's like to go through that stuff, so absolutely.
Hmm.
So divorce law, family law, the special needs one's important because you have estate planning,
Yeah.
wills and trusts are so important. So if you're meeting with a lawyer about having a estate will, I mean, I also work I'm a partner in another company where we have people who can help you with the wills and the trusts and stuff like that. I make sure I surround myself with the one-stop shop type idea,
Sure.
because having a son who's past the age of 17, because there are a lot of services there for newborn through 17
Yeah.
in our society, and almost like once you're 18 and older, you what they call it, fall off the cliff, not in the
Yeah.
literal sense but more in the figurative sense of the services are very much more sparse 18 and older than they are 17 and younger. And so
Yes.
I truly specialize in the end. It's like I am my best client because
Hmm.
I have an 88-year-old mother who lives with me, so I'm caring
Oh,
for her,
wow.
and I got my 23-year-old son
So
who's
you're
got
definitely
special needs.
sandwiched.
So that yeah, I say with that's the sandwich generation. But I say I'm my best client. So if you
Mhm.
find someone like Drew who has an elderly parent and a special needs son, that's the perfect client for me because I'm living it, and as long as I'm two steps ahead of my client, I'm able to help.
Well, that's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
Drew, that was absolutely brilliant. I can't thank you enough. You've been amazing and you've been awesome. Do you have anything else that you would like to share? Because like what you just shared was great.
Couple things. I guess the one advice I would have is choose to write your own story instead of letting others write it for you. Because when you stand on the sidelines, somebody's going to write your story for you. You may as well write it yourself. Number two, I do have two free gifts I want to give, so I'll give you the links. One is a free PDF copy of my book. It's called "I'll Have What She's Having: Memoir of a Reformed People Pleaser." I'll
Nice.
give you the link for the free download. And then I created what I call the 5 minute reset. It's a 5 minute audio of me helping you learn how to meditate a little stretching, little mindset shift. So if you
Hmm.
are coming home from work on a high because you're so confident at work, and then you're going home and you're in the driveway and you go to the front door and you're about to reach for that doorknob and you're shaking because you're kind of afraid to go in for your invisible second job. It could be you're
Hmm.
clashing with your significant other on the way you're parenting your special needs kid, or you have an elderly parent. I want you to be able to go back in your car in your driveway, shut the engine off, and use the 5 minute reset. So I'm going to
Yeah.
give you the link to that too. And
Oh, awesome.
yeah, and the last thing is I'm a host of a podcast called From Caving In to Crushing It. Drew's been
Yes.
a guest on that. That's on YouTube. It's Profit Compassion. Just check me out on YouTube. It's all about. I mentioned man number one before. Woman number one is the blind spot. Woman and man number two are the victim. Well, I interview woman and man number three who take adversity on as an opportunity, not a barrier,
Yeah.
and take massive action and do something different to become a stronger man or woman on the other side. And it's really for inspiration and hope for those of you who think you're on an island by yourself, but there's always help out there.
Yes. Yes, there is. Drew, this has been an amazing conversation. I am deeply grateful for this. Absolutely. It was
Thank you,
so
Jean.
powerful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again. And we're going to end the recording.